Welcome back to another episode of our Eagle Perspective podcast. I'm Mike Siciliano, Dean of Students of the Upper School. I am joined today by our incredible athletic trainer, Michaela Johnson. Michaela, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We are thrilled to have you. That thank you actually sounded authentic, even though we both know we had to beg you to do this podcast.
Yes.
So we're really glad that you're here. So you do an incredible job. I have been fortunate as a coach to get to see some of your work firsthand. So what is your actual title and what certifications do you have?
So my title is Certified Athletic Trainer.
Okay.
So I have an undergraduate degree in athletic training, and then I have a master's in coaching and athletic administration. The career path for athletic training now is an entry-level master's.
Okay.
But I've already gone a different path for that.
And then what are some of the things that you do on campus for us?
So as an athletic trainer here at the high school setting, I help with physicals. I help with first responding to injuries. If an injury is something that I can manage the physical therapy component to and it doesn't need as much one-on-one attention, I'll do that here. Me being one person to 300 athletes, sometimes we have to kind of send them elsewhere. So initial evaluations, follow-ups, first aid, injury documentation, communicating with parents, communicating with physicians, helping kids get doctor's appointments with certain physicians if needed.
And then you do athletic training elsewhere as well. Like you train athletic trainers. Is that correct?
I have grad students that come from Point Loma's master's program, and I'm part of their clinical rotation. Yeah. So they'll spend a year with me. It's usually around 15 to 18 hours a week learning the hands-on component of athletic training.
Awesome.
Because it's not always exactly what you learn in the book. It's usually pretty different.
Well, I mean, so let me think off the top of my head things that maybe they don't teach you in the book. Mm-hmm. Having conversations with coaches about why a certain player can't play.
Yes.
Hypothetically speaking. I'm not saying we've had those conversations. How about applying medical assistance to the coaches when they maybe like pull a muscle or something on campus and they're not afraid to take advantage of the fact that athletic trainers are on campus? I mean, did those hit close to home a little bit?
Just
maybe?
a little.
Okay.
We have a few coaches that are regulars.
Yeah, none in the room, obviously. No. But okay, why don't we start with this might seem like a really dumb question, but not every school has an athletic trainer.
No.
So why is it important that we have one?
It's kind of a loaded question in the sense of athletic training is still a pretty young, new profession. It's been around since around 1950, but in California, it's not as well integrated into the high school level. There's a lot of high schools that don't have them. Either they can't afford them, they don't see the value in having somebody there until an injury happens, right? Until something scary happens. And then they go, oh, maybe we should have somebody on campus. We're trained to be first responders in emergencies. We're there, to reduce the cost for parents of doctor's visits and x-rays and MRIs. If it's something that we can look at and go, no, this doesn't need imaging, let's give it a few days and they improve, then best case scenario. And we don't need to go through these other channels of directly to a doctor's visit.
Right. And I will add to that, we've had a couple of scary situations that I think we've been thank God Michaela's here, and you're kind of the go-to person. We have a nurse on campus as well, but especially after school, you can get busy. I mean, we have
very busy.
We might have 9 or 10 sports at once, having something. And I know you've had days where you're kind of bouncing all over the place. We obviously, unfortunately, have had ambulance calls. We've had, all of that stuff. And you've been, maybe this is a more personal question, but how are you able to handle that in a way that is so calm? And
it kind of just happens over time, practicing it, as a student. Being where my grad students are when they come and work under me, I was terrified. Yeah. I didn't want to run out on the field and have to make a decision in that moment. I didn't feel like I knew enough at that point, when you're learning. But then you're doing so many practical application trainings through the schooling process as interns with other eyes over you, kind of guiding you until you feel like you can handle it. Yeah. And you just kind of go through your checklist and
So part of what amazes me about you two is that you have to handle such a wide breadth of issues. Mm-hmm. So maybe what are some of the most common ones? And then what's one or two just crazy out of left field ones you've had to deal with that stick out to you?
In what capacity?
As an athletic trainer.
As an athletic trainer.
Yeah.
The super easy common ones are going to be your ankle sprains, a muscle strain.
Yeah.
Things like that. The kind of classic, like, oh, I felt something in my hamstring or I rolled my ankle. I have had some crazy cases over the years at different jobs that school did not prepare me for that were, cardiac issues.
Yeah.
I had one girl that had like an implanted cardiac device. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Right. Yeah.
Fresh out of school, we sit down with the team doctors and they go over everything with me and they're kind of teaching me and coaching me up as I'm heading into this new adventure. Seizures are always super nerve-wracking and out of left field. I've had some crazy incidences with that with other athletes over the years. And that part is, I feel like you don't really get prepared for very well until it happens.
I mean, there's no real way to learn it until you kind of go through it once or twice. Yeah.
No. So those were probably the most out of left field for me.
All right. So my favorite thing, in addition to the fact that we have you, is a program that I think Crystal started that you have continued and grown with our student athletic trainers. And, they've become a huge part of our sports, our fall sports in particular, but I know some of them stay year round. Tell us a little about that program.
So it's been about 10 to 12 high school students that apply into the program at the end of the year. Sophomores, juniors, and seniors are what I have brought onto my team. It's after school. It's not a traditional class teaching platform. But they come into the athletic training room once or twice a week. They learn how to tape. We learn foam rolling. We learn how we're setting up water for games. They assist me at games. We go over, splinting and kind of basic first aid stuff that if I'm by myself and as well and need an extra hand, they've been trained and they get to kind of experience and have some of this hands-on opportunities as well, which is fun.
Yeah, and it's pretty, like I would say by the end of the season, they're doing the bulk of a lot of the basic stuff, right? Like they're doing a lot of the taping pregame, for example. They're doing a lot of the first response to some of the more everyday, the less serious things.
Yeah, they actually can't really respond, but I can say, hey,
do this.
Can you give them X, Y, and Z?
Right.
Can you grab this foam roller for so-and-so? And
so how much do they learn over the course of a season?
It's kind of, they learn a lot, but it really depends on what happens in the season.
Yeah,
so I teach them kind of as we go. So if we see a lot of ankles, they learn a lot about ankles. If we see a lot of concussions, they learn a lot about concussions. So just based on how the season is going is what they learn more of.
Yeah. And then you build a pretty neat community there too. So like football team here for a long time has done pasta dinners. I know that's something you guys have adopted.
Yeah. So, and that's another one too that Crystal had kind of built that foundation for, and I was able to kind of come in and keep it going, which has been really fun. Yeah. So that one, ours is called TNO, which was Trainers Night Out.
Love it.
But we have we have dinner in the athletic training room. But it's our time to, have a little devotion, pray together, check in, maybe have a guest speaker, little in-service, depending on how the week has been going.
And I know from talking from some of our students, like some of them have gone on to have interest in this as a career. Yeah,
there's been a few, or into the medical field in general.
Yeah.
So nursing, pre-med, athletic training, physical therapy.
Yeah,
all the different avenues.
Who's out there now that you could share that is pursuing this?
I know Wesley
Addicts.
Yeah, she pursued the athletic training route. Caroline went nursing.
Okay.
Yeah, she was the other one that's in my mind.
Caroline Carnes.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
And you have a couple now I know who have expressed interest in potentially doing it as well. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I would say they also get you as a mentor. What's it like for you to have this kind of room bustling full of 10 to 12 students that you get to mentor?
I love it. They become my team.
Yeah.
They're an extension of what I do in that room, and I don't think I would be able to do what I do without them in that way. And they make it fun. They keep it light. They They keep it young.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that.
Yeah. The only problem is we have some boys that like to spend a little too much time in the training room.
I try to kick them out as much as I can.
You do great. You do great. You know, we need to get the student trainers to have that same attitude a little bit, you know, but it's pretty neat. And then I know, you know, in some of our games when a player goes down, which we hope never happens, but a lot of times it's you and 2 or 3 of them that are the first ones on the scene, right?
Yes. So part of the sideline rotation is, I have 4 high school students with me on the sideline, and they rotate every quarter. So there's 2 on water, 1 on blood, so you'll see them with gloves on, ready to cover wounds if any come off the field, and then 1 on me. And so the person on me is following me. If we run on the field, they run out there with me. Should I need more supplies when I'm out there, they're my runner. So they know where everything is in my kit, under my table. They're ready to help however they can.
It's pretty hands-on experience.
It is. And so they are, it is a requirement that they're CPR and first aid certified before they start. Yeah. So they have some of that under their belt and are aware of basic first aid.
Yeah. And you guys kind of do a Hell Week too, right?
During your Hell Week.
During our Hell Week.
Yes.
Okay, so what does that look like?
That is, we're learning, again, that's the basics of taping, blood, wound care. Yeah. We're going over those sideline rotations, what we do with the waters, how to manage the space in the athletic training room, things like that.
Okay, now do you do like fun competitions and games like we do, or is that maybe?
So sometimes. So last year we had time to. This year I was a little busier during Hell Week, and we didn't get to do as many games.
That was our fault. Sorry about that.
So if football has less injuries during Hell Week, then yes, we can play some fun games. We've done like Simon Says with foam rolling, and I have them try to guess and figure out how to foam roll different body parts, and then we go over it. Yeah. Like, well, this is yes, you're doing it, but this is a more efficient way to do that, or this is how I do it.
So whether they choose to have a career in the medical field or not, what are you hoping that the kids leave your program with?
Just a good sense of camaraderie and how to care for their peers. And if they get a little bit of first aid knowledge out of that and more understanding of their own bodies and how they work, I think that's all I'm asking at this point.
Okay, so thinking through, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things that you do. What do schools do if they don't have a certified athletic trainer?
So if they don't have someone on campus, they use a nurse if they have a nurse during school hours. After school, it tends to fall on the coaches and the parents. And a lot of times they aren't trained. So sometimes they can move an athlete that's injured and make things worse, or they have to call 911 right away, even if it's something that maybe doesn't require a 911 call, but they don't know what to do. Yeah.
And it's a good time to mention you have a lot of, you know, for lack of a better term, power in our athletic games, in that, you know, anytime there's a head contact or really any kind of injury, you know, coaches can't put a player in until you've cleared them. So you actually have with your expertise, the ability to say this player cannot go back in.
I do.
Okay.
And it's hard. I don't like to say that. And it's really hard to say.
Yeah.
But if I am ever saying, no, they cannot go back out there, it's for a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And we actually appreciate that, because we don't want to be the coaches that put somebody in that shouldn't be in. Yeah. You know, that's obviously the athlete first. So, so we appreciate you.
Well, and I appreciate working with coaches that trust me to make those decisions and honor those decisions and don't go, you don't know, you get coaches that will do whatever they want to do. Yeah. Regardless, and that things get scary.
Listen, as long as you treat my injuries when they happen, I'm gonna. No, I'm just kidding. No, of course.
But really, it's good. It feels like a cohesive team, and that's important to me. Yeah. So that's been a blessing to be here and have that.
To us as well. And we know in sports there's going to be injuries.
Yes.
And obviously the majority of players, we hope, don't have them. But it is nice for the ones that have them that we have you. And, you know, to know that, there's going to be a response on site right away that is good. But that also over time, I mean, that's a lot of what you do in the afternoons. I see you in there with people who are already injured doing their rehab and getting them back.
Yeah, so they're getting stronger, going through range of motion exercises. Yeah. Sometimes the injuries are more of aches and pains, and we can work through that too. Maybe it's not a full injury and something is really sore today.
Which I'll vouch for you. You are really good at sometimes being like, yeah, he's fine. It's just
that
sore.
hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Michaela, we are really grateful for you, and not just that you're here, but that you came to do the podcast after months of us begging you.
Months and many attempts.
and promises of all kinds of rewards. But our kids are really lucky to have you, both our athletes and most of all those trainers that are in there with you, learning from you. So I can't say thank you enough for what you do here.
Thank you.
And thank you if you are watching or listening to us. If this is your first time hearing one of our Eagle Perspective podcasts, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or elsewhere podcasts are available. Please check us out. We'll be back with you again soon.